And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello there, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're going to be constructing our own subdivision. We're going to be putting in roads and parks and lakes and schools and industrial zones, residential, commercial, luxury, all in a game called Subdivision from Bezier Games. Plays from 1 to 4 players, plays in about 45 minutes. It's a simultaneously played game with some drafting, a little bit of dice rolling, and some money management there. So let's check it out. I'll show you how it's played, and I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of Subdivision, everybody gets their own board. Notice the highway goes around this subdivision, or you can play on the other side where it's a slightly different layout. So let's go here, everybody gets one of those, and everybody gets $2 to start the game. This game is played over 4 subsequent rounds, and each round, each player is going to get 4 turns, and they're all going to happen simultaneously. So since it's round 1, everybody will grab 5 of these tiles and keep them face down in front of them, and then the starting player will roll this dice randomly. Now this isn't quite random, but here's 5 of the different, these are all 5 different zoning tiles. Let's say this was the thing that was rolled. So we have luxury, residential, industrial, civic tiles, and commercial tiles. And this was rolled. So I get to pick any one of these. Now granted, I'd be kind of holding these secret up in my face so nobody else can see it. I would pick any one of these and place it on any tile that has this on there. Let's say we do the industrial tile. So since this was rolled, I can place any of those 5 tiles, which I'm going to place industrial, on any of these places. Now if I wanted to spend $2 to the bank, I could place it on any empty place if I wanted to. I could also place it in here. We'll talk about that later. Now when you place the tiles, they always have to go right side up. They can never go anywhere. You see all these little places has a little grayish emblem. That's the orientation that these go. And the numbers here are any of these that are uncovered at the end of the game will be minus those amount of points. So maybe I'll start by covering up the worst one here, which is a -3. Now, the first turn is a little different because this doesn't activate anything. Let's get to a next turn. Now, after I place that, I'm going to take the 4 tiles that I did not use, and in rounds 1 and 3, pass them to my left face down. In rounds 2 and 4, you're going to pass them to the right. So I'll be receiving some new tiles. So 4 were passed to me. There's 2 luxury, 1 civic, and 1 industrial. Somebody will roll a dice. Oh, and it's that again. And now we have to place one of these 4 and another one of those red ones. Now let's say I didn't want to place the red. I wanted to spend my $2 because I want to activate this. How activating happens, anytime you place a tile next to any other tile, it activates it. So because I placed this, any tile that's adjacent to it will activate. And these tiles do different things. For instance, the industrial one activates. This allows me to place anywhere up to 2 of these road tiles up to 2 places away from the activated industrial tile. So essentially these 3 different improvement stacks, which we'll talk about more later, you just take any one of them, all of them have a road on the back. I can take up to 2 of these and place them. Up to 2 away, so maybe I place one here, maybe I take another one and I place one over here. So up to 2 away, I can place up to 2 of them. That's what happens when you activate an industrial tile. Now again, I would be passing these to my left, and we would keep doing this till there's none left. So when you get to the last one, someone might pass you 1. If you want, you can also gain $2 to discard this and not place it anywhere. Now at the end of that round, again, there's 3 more rounds, you do the same thing. Now, but at the beginning of these rounds, there's bonus tiles. At the beginning of the second round, now there's a ton of these. Notice this is 2, 3, and 4. It shows you which pile you put these on. There's a ton of each of these that you randomly select at the beginning of the game. So for example, at the beginning of round 2, if you have at least 2 lakes, you'd get $2, and everybody who does that can get it. This one, if you have at least 6 roads, you can activate a luxury or commercial tile. And at the end of the last round, if you have covered all your -3 spots on your board, you can activate an industrial, civic, or a residential. And again, there's a ton of these for each one that can get randomly selected at the end of the game, at the beginning of the game, but there's only 1 of each of those, and you would go through those 3 rounds just like we just showed you. But let's show you what all the other tiles do. So if a tile was placed here, this would now activate this. And these ones actually show you that you can add a lake tile in any direction showing on this tile. And you can see we take a lake tile here and we place it in one of those spots. So I can place it in any of the spots here, or I can place it there, because there's nowhere I can go up top there. The arrows show you which direction. Let's say I place it here. Now when I place one of those, what this tells me is I get $1 for every adjacent, pretty much everything except a lake. Anything that has a tile that's not a lake, essentially you're going to get $1 for each one. I would get $3 for placing that because there's 3 adjacent icons of buildings that are on that tile. Now let's say next turn I ended up putting a civic building here. Now remember, I put that there, which activates a building next to it, and we'll activate a commercial building, which allows us to add some sidewalks. So you add 3 pieces of sidewalks, and the first one has to at least be touching this. So maybe it starts here because it's touching the blue that's being activated, and after that it has to continue down the edge or one of the edges there. So maybe I go like that, 1, 2, 3, it's 1 consecutive sidewalk, and that's what happens when you activate a blue commercial. Maybe let's just show you the next one gets added here, and this is residential, but it activates the civic. And similar to one of the other tiles, this is going to allow me to add a park in any of these 3 directions that we're putting that. So again, we take one of those improvement tile stacks that has the road on one side and the parks on the other, and I can place it anywhere of these, anywhere that this thing says I can, and maybe I put it, ooh, look, it says I can go this way, and maybe I put it right there. And at the end of the game, this is telling me this is going to score 1 point for everything that's adjacent that has a tile that's not a park, essentially. You'll get 1 point there. That'll be at the end game scoring. Another place you could put, we talked about this, it's 2 points if you don't use this, and you don't have to spend 2 to place it there. So if we had this rolled, we wouldn't have to place it. We could place it there and not have to spend the extra $2, but it costs you basically 2 points to put something there. But let's say this got here and this got put there, which then would activate this green tile here. And this essentially allows me to take one of those improvement stacks that we talked about earlier, the ones that have the roads on one side and something else. This is a school. What this says, I could put this adjacent. So maybe I put this like this to anywhere adjacent. And what this means is at the end of the game, if there's 1 school here, it's 0. If there's a second school, a second story school, I'd say, right on top of it, it's still worth 0. But if I'm able to get 3 schools there, it's going to be worth 8 points at the end of the game. Now it does come with player age for everybody to know that when things are activated, what they can do. Just shows you what they do once they activate it. It's pretty, you catch on pretty quick. And on the other side, it actually has the final scoring for each of the things. So it's pretty easy to know what you're going for during the game. Let's take a look at my board at the end of the game. So at scoring, we're going to look at each of these different areas. So we're going to look at points for parks. And essentially we're going to get 1 point for every tile that's adjacent that's not a park. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for parks. So we're going to get 9 there. Then we're going to look at the sidewalks. So here we look at the amount of unique zoning tiles multiplied by the number of unique improvement tiles that touch the sidewalk. So zoning tiles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different types of there. Multiplied by the improvement tiles that touch it that are unique, 1, 2. So in this case, I get 4 times 2 or 8 points. All right. Next, we look at schools. Now, 2 spots I have schools, here and here. You have to have a level of 3 to get any points. So there's only 1 here, so I get 0. I have 3 on this, so I get 8 points for schools. Alrighty. Next, we do money, which essentially is every $2 is 1 point. I didn't have any money left. And then we look at roads, the tiles going to the highway. So here, all the zoning tiles that can get to the highway through either empty parcels or through roads is 5 points. So I like to go a column at a time. So this one can go there. That's 1 of them. This one kind of gets stuck. It never makes it out. So we come down here. We have more zoning tiles. 2. This one goes here. 3. This one. 4. This one's stuck. 5. 6. This one's kind of stuck. This is stuck. This one's 7. 8. 9. 10. So I have 10 on the access to the highway times 5 points. 50 points. So here we go. 50. Then we subtract any of the points that are still on the board. So minus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So minus 6, and this is 69, which is terrible, and that would win. So now let's take a look at a solo game. Now there's a bunch of scenarios that you can play here too that has a predetermined setup, whether you have a river runs through with a ton of rivers or a big sidewalk going through the middle or lots of parks. Then it has you remove certain tiles. It kind of sets it up with a different game. So once you get, if the normal game ever got old for you, there's a bunch of different scenarios that you can play. They also have target scores for solos as well. Just a lot of replayability value there. All right, well, there's Subdivision. When I was a kid, I used to love playing SimCity. It was one of my favorite games, putting in the different zones, connecting them with roads. This game has a similar feeling to that. And I know that first question I get asked every time I tell someone I've got this game or I played this game, everyone asks the same question. Is it like Suburbia? Is it better than Suburbia? Gosh, and I've got to say, that question is really irrelevant. Other than coming from the same publisher, and it's not, those two games aren't even done by the same designer. Ted Alspach did not design this Subdivision. Yeah, same publisher. Yeah, they're hexes. Yeah, it has something to do about cities. But other than that, they couldn't be more different, really. This is much more abstract. Let me tell you about the things I did like about the game. I liked that it was quick. I mean, 45 minutes and it's over, sometimes even sooner. I like the simultaneous action selection because when you're doing your thing, everyone else is doing theirs. There is like zero downtime in this game. I like the drafting mechanism. Drafting is always a fun thing for me. So you're taking the tiles, you're looking at what you want, you know who you're going to be passing it to. Do you want to pass them something that they really need? Probably not. Maybe you take that instead. The drafting element is cool. The bonus tiles of each level gives you something to think about forward a little bit further down the road. I like that. And then trying to figure out how they're all going to fit together and when to activate them. You got to leave room for it to get to the highway. There are a lot of things I did like about this game. For my personal taste, it is a little more abstract than I tend to like in a game. So when people always ask, do you like it better than Suburbia? Again, there's not that much in common, honestly. It might seem like there is, but they're really completely different games. These do not scratch the same itch. They are quite different from each other. So can someone own both Suburbia and Subdivision and have them be like, yeah, these scratch different itches? Absolutely. Can someone like one and not the other? Absolutely. Can someone hate both of them? Maybe. So they're so different that they really should not be compared. It wouldn't be fair, honestly. Now with that being said, I like Suburbia better. But it has nothing to do with this game because they're so different. I don't like the abstract-y part of this as much, but there's a lot of things about this game I do like. But from my overview, you should be able to tell by the way that things are placed, by the way that things are activated, by the way things happen, and the way the game plays, if this is something for you. For me, it's a little too abstract for me, but I did enjoy it. It's a good follow-up. I like the theme. I like building things up. The scoring mechanism is good. The solo game is actually good. I don't like to play solo games too much, but I tried this one out. I did terrible, but I did enjoy it. And in fact, it went pretty quick and it allows you to learn the game quite a bit, learn some of the nuances of not blocking yourself in so you can't get some of those tiles to the highway and things like that. You know, the replayability with flipping the board, that changes things. Also, the different scenarios adds a lot of replayability. So I think there's a lot here for people that like the tile laying, like to be building, like to be activating when they put things down, thinking some moves ahead. I think this has a lot to offer. For me personally, it wasn't my favorite game from the Bezier Games crew, or for tiling and things like that, but that was more of a personal preference. I can't see any design flaw or anything about the game that you should watch out for. This was purely personal perspective, and so you shouldn't take too much of water of that. That's Subdivision.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.